Track 61. Conversation 1. Hello.
Oh, hi, Michelle. It's me, Joop. Listen, I'm just ringing to say we're not going to make it to the restaurant later. Katje isn't feeling very well.
Oh dear, what's up?
Well, actually, she had a bit of a panic attack earlier while we were out.
You're joking.
No, we were in the shop and she suddenly started breathing strangely and sweating and stuff.
Oh no, is she all right now?
Yeah, she's okay. She had a little sit down and it passed, but she'd rather stay in tonight. She told me to say how sorry she is.
Don't be silly. Tell her there's no need to apologise and I understand.
Thanks, I will.
What brought it on, do you know?
Well, she's been under a lot of pressure at work recently, so it's probably that. She won't admit it, but it's been affecting her quite badly. She's not been sleeping well for a while, you know?
That's quite worrying. Has she been to see anyone about it?
No, not yet. Actually, we're supposed to be going away for a few days next week, but now I don't know whether we should stay here and get an appointment or leave it till we come back.
Well, maybe all she needs is a break.
Maybe.
I know you're worried, but if it's only a few days, why don't you see how she is when you get back?
I guess.
Anyway, send her my love and tell her I'm thinking of her. Conversation 2.
Hello, Nina. Hi, it's me, Caitlin.
Hi, where are you? I was expecting you at 6.
Yeah, sorry, but Lachlan's had some kind of reaction to something he ate. We're in Rome Hospital.
You're joking. Is he all right?
Yes, he's fine now. He's with the nurse and they're running some tests to try and find out exactly what he's reacting to.
No. So what actually happened then?
Well, we were in the middle of lunch and he suddenly said he was feeling a bit weird, and then all of a sudden his lips just started swelling up and he was really struggling to breathe.
That sounds terrifying. Is he all right now, though?
Yes, honestly. We rushed him to the hospital. Someone from the restaurant actually took us and they dealt with him very quickly. He had an injection to reduce the swelling and they gave him oxygen to help him breathe.
Oh, Caitlin, you sound so calm. It must have been awful.
Well, I was panicking at the time, but everyone here has been so good to us. Anyway, listen, they're going to keep him in overnight to be on the safe side.
Oh, right.
Sorry, I know we're supposed to be coming to the concert tonight.
Don't be silly. Lachlan's health is much more important than a concert. When do you think you'll get here tomorrow?
It shouldn't be too late. The doctor is going to come at 9, so if he says Lachlan's okay to leave, we should get to yours by lunchtime.
OK, well, listen, give him a hug from me and don't worry about rushing to get here tomorrow.
Track 62. 1.
I'm supposed to be revising for my exams tonight.
2.
We're supposed to be playing tennis later.
3. I'm supposed to be cooking for my family tonight. 4.
She's supposed to be arriving at around 9 this evening.
5.
We're supposed to be getting married next month.
Track 63.
The incredible boom in medical tourism over the last few years has been one of the more interesting side effects of globalization. For quite some time already, we've been used to the idea of medical staff moving from country to country, while more recently, many hospitals have also started outsourcing record-keeping and the reading of X-rays to developing countries in an attempt to cut costs. However, what's remarkably new is the ever-increasing numbers of patients from developed Western countries who are opting to go abroad for treatment. It's estimated that before too long, over 6 million Americans and over 100,000 Britons will be travelling overseas for private medical or dental work, all done at knockdown prices. Countries such as Mexico, Jordan, Malaysia, India and Thailand all stand to benefit from a trade expected to soon be generating over $4 billion a year. The question arises, however, as to whether this is a genuine win-win situation.
Track 64.
Damien Frisch is a German lawyer specialising in medical negligence cases.
I don't want to be accused of causing panic. I myself have had dental work done in Poland, and it was excellent. However, anyone thinking of going abroad for treatment needs to know they are taking a risk. You have to be very careful and do extensive research before making a decision. Otherwise, you are gambling with your health as well as your money. Fraudulent claims and dishonest money-making schemes are commonplace and are on the increase. And the regulatory environment in many places is not as rigorous as it should be. In addition to this, many treatments are still experimental, and all too often there is no aftercare as patients return to their home countries. My advice would be it's better to be safe than sorry. And if something sounds too good to be true, then it probably is.
Cindy Long, the CEO of a hospital in Kuala Lumpur that's particularly popular with foreigners, acknowledges that there are some opportunistic practitioners, but that this should not detract from the reality of the change that is happening.
The old stereotypes of Asia as some kind of impoverished third world are now very outdated. We boast some of the best doctors in the world and have a wide array of ultra-modern hospitals. On top of that, a few of the operations we offer now are so high-tech that they are actually only found in Malaysia. In addition, we offer all-inclusive packages for visitors. We can arrange visas and flights, offer a range of special menus, look after patients' companions, even book holiday resorts for post-surgery recuperation, and all at very reasonable prices. At the same time, of course, 90% of our patients are still local, and they all benefit from our innovations. Furthermore, we ensure that a portion of our profits go towards providing at least a basic level of health care for the poor, so everyone stands to benefit.
Certainly that's how Charlotte Staples, a bank clerk from Rotherham, England, feels.
I had a hip replacement operation in Jordan last year, and I can't speak highly enough of the place. I'd been on the waiting list in England for almost a year, and I reached the point where I was becoming a very impatient patient. If I'd gone private here, it would have cost me something in the region of £10,000. As it was, I got my flight, a 10-day stay in hospital, a pioneering new surgical technique, and a 2-week holiday afterwards for just over £5,000. Sun, sand, surgery and savings.
Track 65.
A man goes to a doctor and says, "Doc, I think there's something wrong with me. Every time I poke myself, it hurts. Look." And he starts poking himself. He pokes himself in the leg. Ouch! He pokes himself in the ribs. Ah! He pokes himself in the head, and he literally screams in agony. Ow! You see what I mean, Doc? You see how bad it is? What's happening to me? And the doctor replies, "Yes, you seem to have broken your finger."
Track 66. 1.
We've had far fewer problems with it than we were expecting.
2.
I don't want to cause you any trouble.
3. What I found strange was that there were so few people there. 4.
It shouldn't be that hard to find accommodation.
5.
I'm supposed to be going out later, but I don't really feel like it.
6. I doubt anyone will even notice it's gone. 67. 1.
When I found out I'd won, I was speechless. I just couldn't believe it.
2.
Apparently, they discovered she'd been stealing money from them for months.
3. I suddenly realised I'd left the fire on, and by the time I'd got back to the house, the whole place was in flames. 4.
She'd been suffering from the illness for some time, but she hadn't told anyone about it.
5.
We finally realised we'd missed the turning and we'd been going in the wrong direction for half an hour.
Track 68. Conversation 1.
Have you read that interview with Taylor Fox in there?
No, I was just having a quick flick through. Why?
Oh, I just thought it was interesting. Did you know she's got 2 adopted kids from Malawi?
I did, yeah. From what I've heard, she couldn't have kids of her own.
No, actually, as I understand it, she'd already had a son with Scott Blake.
She's married to Scott Blake.
Was. They got divorced a while back. She's with Cody Lescott now.
Of course, I was going to say. So how come she split up with Scott Blake? He seems really nice.
That's the image, but it turns out he's a bit of a jerk. He'd been leading a bit of a double life. He was very popular with the ladies, and she decided she just couldn't trust him. That's why they called it a day.
You're joking. He comes across as so clean-cut and pleasant.
Well, apparently not. It seems, how shall I put it, that he likes to spread the love a lot.
Well, that's changed my opinion of him. She's better off without him in that case, then.
Absolutely. You should read the interview. She had quite an interesting upbringing. She just sounds very down to earth.
Conversation 2.
Have you seen Ollie recently?
No, not for ages. Have you?
Yeah, I saw him last week. We went for a drink.
Right. How is he?
Oh, he's good. Really good, actually. You know, he left his job at Biflix.
No, really? I was told he was doing well there.
He was. But he'd actually been thinking about leaving for a while. Basically, ever since he started going out with Layla.
Who's Layla?
When was the last time you saw him?
It must have been about a year ago. As far as I know, he wasn't seeing anyone then.
Oh, maybe. Well, anyway, she's Finnish. They met on holiday. She lives in Helsinki. They were commuting between here and there more or less every 2 weeks. But in the end, he decided to quit his job and move there.
You're joking.
No. Apparently, she's got a really good job, so they can both afford to live off her salary.
So he's just going to be a house husband then?
Yeah. Well, he said he'd sent CVs to a couple of companies, but if that came to nothing, he was going to retrain as an English teacher.
Really? Well, that's a change for the better.
Track 69. 1.
I went to a wedding in Sweden last year. It wasn't so different to weddings I've seen, but the odd thing was, firstly, there was a lot of singing during the reception, which I joined in, even though I'm tone deaf. Then there were lots of speeches. Anyone could make a toast and speak. And when the groom left the room, for whatever reason, male guests would leap up and kiss the bride. Another thing I discovered is that when the couple exchange vows, the person who says "I do" loudest is supposed to be the one who'll wear the trousers in their marriage.
2.
Here in Japan, the second Monday in January is called Seijin no Hi, Coming of Age Day. Everyone who turns 20 that year is invited to a big reception organised by the local authority to mark the fact they're now legally adults. The girls wear traditional Japanese outfits worth thousands of pounds, which is why most girls just hire them for the day. The guys usually wear suits, but some do dress more traditionally too. At the reception, there's a lengthy speech by the local mayor to congratulate them and remind them of their new responsibilities, and small gifts are handed out to everyone. Family and friends usually gather outside the town hall to take photos. Then we go out and party the night away.
3.
People here find death an awkward subject. In Puerto Rico, I think we have a healthier, more open attitude. When someone dies, the funeral company usually preserves the body so it can be displayed in a coffin. However, recently there's been a trend to dress the bodies and place them in a themed setting, such as sitting on their motorbike. The body's on display at least 2 days, so everybody, friends, family, neighbours, children and adults, can pay their respects and take photos with the body before it is buried. This is all part of celebrating their life, and the photo is an important record of the event. It's part of a person's history, and honouring the dead is very important, which is why we also visit the graves of loved ones every year.
4. I have just had my first baby, Ardit. Family is core to the Hindu faith, so there are several rites connected to birth and children. Right after the birth, the baby is washed and then the father brushes a mixture of honey and butter on the baby's lips. He then whispers special holy words in the baby's right ear as a blessing for his future life. I had quite a difficult labour, but seeing my husband do that was so beautiful. I immediately forgot all the pain and exhaustion. We didn't actually name the baby till 10 days after the birth because a priest consults an astrological chart to find the position of the stars and choose the initials of the name. Later in the year, we'll mark other events like the baby's first trip outside and the first time he has solid food. Track 70. Conversation 1.
Hi, I'd like to open a bank account, please.
Certainly. Do you have some form of identification with you?
Yes, I've got my passport here. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. But we also need proof of your current address. Do you have a utility bill, a gas bill or electricity bill or anything with you?
No, I don't, I'm afraid. You see, I'm not directly paying bills at the moment. I'm living in a shared house, a student house, and I just pay a fixed amount every month.
OK. Well, do you have any proof of income or a national insurance number at all?
No, I don't. I told you, I'm a student. I'm not working. I have my passport, my driving licence from back home, 3 cheques I want to deposit, and this letter from my uni.
Oh, can I just have a quick look at that? Ah, OK, I see. Right, well, this should be fine. What kind of account were you after?
Just a normal current account.
OK. Well, what we can do is give you a 3-month trial period on a current account, which will cost you £10 a month. And if you do decide to stay with us after that, the £30 will be refunded.
OK, well, I guess that's fair enough.
Great. So if you could just fill out these forms.
Conversation 2.
Hi, I'm flying to Caracas and I need to get hold of some Venezuelan currency. I'm not sure what it's called, I'm afraid.
No problem, I'll just check for you. Yes, there we are. It's the Bolivar. How much are you looking for?
I'm after about £500 worth, please.
I'm not sure if we actually keep that currency in stock. Let's see. I'm awfully sorry, madam, but I'm afraid you're out of luck.
Oh, OK, that's a bit annoying.
We do have reserves of the less popular currencies from time to time, but more often we tend to order them in.
Right, yeah, I won't have time.
I'm terribly sorry. Would US dollars do? As I understand it, they're often accepted instead of the local currency. Otherwise, I'm sure you can just change money once you arrive, or make a withdrawal from a cash point there.
In theory, yes, but I've been caught out before thinking that. Maybe I'll get some dollars just to be on the safe side.
Of course. How much would you like?
I'll take 300, please.
OK. That'll be £206.75.
Really? What's the exchange rate?
We're currently selling at 1.48 to the pound, and then there's 2% commission on all transactions.
Right. Well, that's slightly more than I was expecting, I must say. Can I pay by Visa?
Yeah, of course. Just pop the card in there and just enter your PIN number. Thanks. Track 71. 1.
I'll look into the matter at once.
2.
The computers are being very slow today.
3. There must have been some kind of mix-up. 4.
I'm afraid our system is down at the moment.
5.
I'm afraid there's absolutely nothing we can do.
6. I'm afraid I'm not authorised to make that decision. 7.
I'll have a word with my manager and see what I can do.
Track 72.
The husband bought bricks and hired builders. Before too long, the pile of silver was almost gone, but their mansion remained unfinished. The husband decided to see if the money bag would produce more silver, so, without his wife's knowledge, he opened the bag for a second time that day. Instantly, another lump of silver rolled out. He opened it a third time and received a third lump. He thought to himself, "If I go on like this, I can get the house finished in no time." He completely forgot the old man's warning. However, when he opened the bag a fourth time, it was empty. This time, not one bit of silver fell out. It was just an old cloth bag. When he turned to look at his unfinished house, that was gone as well. There before him was his old hut with its leaking roof. The poor man fell to his knees in despair, crying, "How I wish I'd never opened that bag! Now everything is lost!" His wife came over to comfort him, saying, "Not all is lost. We still have each other. Let's go back to the mountain and cut firewood like we did before. That's a more reliable way of earning a living." And from that day on, that's exactly what they did.
Track 73. 1.
28 pence out of every pound.
2.
The 1600s.
3. 370.9 million. Track 74. 1.
3.7 million. 3,700,000.
2.
1500. 1,500.
3. 0.02. 2 hundredths. 4.
2/3. 2 out of 3.
5.
40%. 2/5.
6. Minus 10 degrees. 10 below 0. Track 75. 1.
The exact odds of winning the lottery are 1 in 13,983,816 when there are 49 numbers to choose from.
2.
In Italy, food accounts for just under 1/5 of a family's budget.
3. In the UK last year, 1.4 million people paid over £500 in bank charges, for example, for exceeding overdraft limits. 4.
On average, families spend just 0.015% of their income on books.
5.
Over 3/4 of all women worry about how they'll pay off credit card bills and loans, far more than men.
6. Only about 1 in 10 men know their current level of debt. Track 76.
Here's an offer. If you give me $1 each week, I promise to give you $2.6 million at some point in the future. There's just one catch. When I say at some point in the future, I mean at any point within the next 250,000 years. Tempted? I bet you aren't. So why is it that so many people gamble on lotteries when the odds are nearly 1 in 14 million? Probably because the whole marketing of lotteries downplays the odds against winning and emphasises the dream, the ease of getting money, and the good causes that are funded by the profits lotteries make. But I don't see subsidising things like opera and Olympic sportsmen as a good cause. And it's not good when profits simply go to the government or the company that runs the lottery. Not only does the advertising of lotteries tend to obscure this tiny chance, it also sends this subtle message. People don't need to work hard or get a good education to become wealthy. All you have to do is choose 6 numbers and your dreams will come true. And then also consider what those dreams are. Are they for a better society and healthcare? Peace and understanding? No, it's a mansion and a Ferrari for me. These are values, anti-educational, money-driven and selfish, that go against society. No doubt Stacey will argue that in fact it's all innocent fun and that the stakes are small, but not only do lotteries damage society in this way, they also bring pain to individuals. Take these words from John, a gambling addict from Sydney, for example. I sometimes gambled away my whole paycheck and had nothing left with which to pay the mortgage or feed the family. In the end, I'd bet on anything, horse races, rugby, roulette, even what the weather would be like. But it all started with lottery tickets. I wish I'd never seen one. There's more at stake than we imagine. Gambling destroys people's lives, and 9 times out of 10 it starts with lotteries. They're a tax on the poor and benefit the rich, and they undermine social values. They really should be banned.
Track 77.
Well, that really was a sad story that Zach finished with there, wasn't it? Sad, but sadly for him, also rather misleading in this particular debate. Of course, compulsive gambling is not something that we should approve of. It not only causes pain to the gambler, but also hurts their family and friends. However, addictive behaviour can take many forms. If it wasn't gambling, it might well be drugs or shopping or work. Banning lotteries won't reduce addictive behaviour, even if it were true that 9 out of 10 gambling addictions started with the lottery. By the way, I'd be interested to hear the source of that figure, dubiousstatistics.com, I'd imagine. But just for a moment, say it was true. 9 out of 10 gambling addicts start with lotteries. Should we also consider banning cigarettes on the basis that heroin addicts started by smoking? Or prohibit credit cards because some people go on to be shopaholics and run up huge debts? No. In the end, I actually agree with Zach. We should take responsibility for our future wealth. It's just that where he suggests we do that by banning the lottery and investing in education, I believe that people should do it by learning self-control. Which brings me to his point that the lottery somehow goes against hard work and education. With the greatest respect, that's complete rubbish. People don't spend money on the lottery instead of studying and working hard. It's on top of it. Similarly, lottery dreams don't replace friendship, they add to it. The real equivalent of spending money on a lottery ticket is buying, say, an ice cream. Neither are necessary for living. They provide pleasure. Let's face it, gambling in one form or another has featured in human society since time began because it's fun. The only difference is that unlike ice cream, the lottery ticket, however remote the chance is, might just possibly bring you the additional benefit of riches. From that standpoint, it's a sound investment. Now, Zach may not find lotteries exciting or wish that he had a Ferrari, but I do. And I can't see that there is anything antisocial in that, or anything worth banning.
Track 78. 1.
She found out he'd been lying to her for ages.
2.
I wish he wouldn't shout at me so often.
3. He was arrested and charged with murder. 4.
They said it had already been delivered, but I haven't received it yet.
5.
I wish I could have been there to see it.
6. I wish I'd never said anything about it now. Track 79.
This is delicious.
Thanks.
What's in it? It's got a bit of a lemony taste.
Yeah, that's the lemongrass.
Lemongrass?
Yeah, it's this... Actually, I don't know what you call it. A herb or spice. It looks sort of like a spring onion, you know. It's like a greyish-white stick. Anyway, you drop it in the sauce while it's cooking and it gives it a kind of citrusy flavour.
You don't eat it, then?
No. It's got kind of a woody texture. It's pretty tough, so you just pick it out at the end.
Right. And the orangey colour, is that from carrots?
No, it's pumpkin and red lentils.
Pumpkin?
You know, like a big orange squash, like a melon or something, but rounder, and the flesh is harder.
Oh, yes, of course. Pumpkin. I know this word.
Yeah, so you use that, or sometimes I use sweet potato instead.
Right. So how do you make it?
Oh, it's dead easy. You get a large onion and a couple of cloves of garlic and ginger, and you chop them all really finely. I actually sometimes use a food processor. Then you put some oil in a pan and heat it up, and you just throw everything into the oil, with a couple of bits of lemongrass, and I sometimes put in a whole chilli as well, just to spice things up a bit. You know, like to flavour the oil.
Right.
And then you cook it quite quickly, but you have to keep stirring because you don't want it to burn. Otherwise it can be a bit bitter.
OK.
Then you throw in the pumpkin. Oh, I should have said, you have to cut it up into cubes.
How big?
I don't know. About an inch? A couple of centimetres? It doesn't matter that much. You blend it all in the end.
I meant how big should the pumpkin be?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. They vary so much in size. Big-ish, I guess, but not like the huge ones.
OK. And then what? You just add water and boil it?
Yeah, more or less. You add lentils, roughly a cupful, and a tin of coconut milk.
Oh, right. Coconut milk.
Yeah. Actually, I often use less because I find it a bit much otherwise. And then I add about a litre or so of chicken stock, and as you say, bring it to the boil, and then once it's boiling, you reduce the heat and leave it for 15 minutes or so, till the pumpkin's soft anyway, and then just blend it till it's smooth.
So when do you take out the lemongrass?
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. Basically after it's simmered, at the end. It sort of floats to the surface. You just get it out with a spoon.
And the green herbs?
Well, you can use different things. I usually sprinkle a bit of chopped parsley, but basil's nice as well. And obviously a pinch or two of salt, although personally I got out of the habit of using too much because my dad's got a heart condition and he can't have too much.
Right. Well, it's great.
Yeah, I like it. Actually, I sometimes do it as a sauce, just everything in reduced quantities, and I cook pieces of cod or chicken in it.
Sounds great.
Track 80. 1. Consumer groups are today calling for firm action following recent revelations that food sold by supermarkets as beef has on occasion been found to contain traces of horse meat. This has been blamed on organised criminal gangs substituting the cheaper meat at some stage of the complex, multinational food production cycle. In response, the government is promising to carry out a full investigation in an attempt to uncover any illegal activity in the food chain and to restore public faith in the food industry. Sales of frozen beef burgers have dropped by almost 50% since the initial findings, while sales of frozen ready meals have dropped by over 10%. 2.
One of Johannesburg's most persistent and successful fraudsters has finally been arrested and is due to appear in court today accused of defrauding restaurants, a charge which carries a maximum penalty of 9 months in prison and a 100,000 rand fine. For over a year, Wouter Gunning, aged 54, has been eating out on a regular basis in many of the city's most exclusive restaurants, and all completely free of charge. Gunning is accused of habitually introducing a cockroach into his food as he neared the end of his meals, Safe in the knowledge that high-end establishments would be so sensitive to the damage that any negative publicity could cause that they would invariably waive any charge. Remarkably, the scam only came to light following a chance conversation between two waiters from different restaurants. Mr. Gunning denies all charges against him and will be pleading not guilty on the basis of temporary insanity.
3. The world's population is expected to reach 9 billion by 2050, and it is estimated that food production will have to increase by 70% in the next 35 years to prevent widespread hunger. Many experts recommend using technology and data analysis to help improve the situation. Scientists claim that the analysis of large volumes of data collected from fields, warehouses, trucks, and even animals' stomachs may be the key to developing more efficient farming techniques. For example, innovations in the way data is collected from cattle have the potential to transform dairy and beef production. Cows can now be fed an e-pill that will sit in their stomachs and transmit information about the animals, including heart rate, temperature, and so on. It is hoped that this will alert farmers to any animals in need of attention and ensure swift medical treatment, thus helping to reduce the $60 billion lost each year from animal sickness and death.
4.
A new report urges shoppers to abandon weekly supermarket visits and instead to shop little and often, as new findings show that the cost of wasted food to UK households now exceeds £12 billion a year. The average household throws out over £450 worth of good food per year, while the average family with children squanders around £700. Researchers also found that more than half the good food thrown out has been bought and then simply left unused. Each day, 24 million whole slices of bread, 1.5 million sausages, and 440,000 ready meals are simply discarded. In response to the report, the Environment Minister voiced her dismay. These findings are shocking, and at a time when global food shortages are in the headlines, this kind of wastefulness becomes even more appalling. This is costing consumers 3 times over. Not only are they paying hard-earned money for food they're not eating, there's also the cost of dealing with the waste this creates. And then there are the climate change costs of growing, processing, packaging, transporting and refrigerating food, just for it all to end up in the rubbish bin.
Track 81. 1. The government is promising to carry out a full investigation. 2.
Gunning is accused of habitually introducing a cockroach into his food as he neared the end of his meals.
3.
Many experts recommend using technology and data analysis to help improve the situation.
4.
A new report urges shoppers to abandon weekly supermarket visits.
Track 82. Hello, Claudia Hellman speaking.
Oh, hi, Claudia. This is Ian calling from Madrid.
Oh, hi, Ian. How are things?
Pretty good, thanks. A bit hectic, as usual for this time of year, but, hectic is good. Anyway, listen, I'm just calling, really, to try to arrange a good time to talk through the sales strategy ahead of the coming season.
Yeah, that sounds good. When were you thinking of?
Well, to be honest, the sooner the better. Would next week be good for you at all?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, I'd rather wait till the week after. I'll be visiting Spain for a trade fair, so I could fit in a day with you then.
Oh, is that the one in Valencia?
Yeah, that's right. Are you going?
No, I'm afraid not.
That's okay. I can easily come to head office. What day would work best for you?
The Tuesday would suit me best. That's the 24th, preferably.
Okay, great. I can make any time after 10.
Okay, I'll pencil it in. Perhaps I could actually get Piotr from Warsaw to come over too. Face-to-face is always better, and it'd be good to have input from another market.
Track 83.
Hello, customer services.
Hi, I wonder if you can help me. I'm phoning to chase up an order I placed with your company some time ago and that I still haven't received.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let's see what we can do. Would you happen to have the order number there?
Yeah, I do. It's EIA 2903969.
Right. I'm just checking that now, and I can't actually see any record of the transaction. When was the order placed?
The 29th of August, so that's over a month ago now. It should be under my name, Fabio Baldassari.
Ah, okay. I've got it now. I'm afraid there must have been some kind of mix-up in the system because it doesn't appear to have been sent out yet. I do apologise. I'll get that off to you ASAP.
Okay, well, at least that explains that then.
I'm really sorry about that again, Mr. Baldassari.
It's okay, these things happen.
Thanks for being so understanding. I've just put that through and it will be going out today by special delivery, so it should be with you first thing tomorrow. That's at no extra charge, of course.
Great, thanks. Would you mind just emailing me confirmation of that?
No, of course not. Can I just take your email address?
Sure, it's Baldassari. That's BALDASSARI_F@mechanica.com. That's Mechanica with a double C.
Got it. OK, I'll send that through in a minute.
Track 84.
1,
At.
2,
/.
3,
Underscore.
4,
Dot.
5,
Hyphen.
Track 85. 1.
Postmaster at Kleis Geller Brink, that's CLAES GELLERBRINK.com.
2. www.studytefl, that's TEFL.co.uk. 3.
zip.098.kd@mail.ru.
4. Do or die, that's all one word, _99 at Seznam, that's SEZNAM.CZ. 5.
UCYLJEHH, that's double the word, and then H, not double H, at ucl.ac.uk.
6.
http:// and then 2 forward slashes www.kusuma, that's XOOMER.alice.it/Sweet Floral Albion, that's all one word, / capital S, capital F, capital A, .htm.
Track 86.
Dragon's Den is soon to enter a new series with prospective entrepreneurs trying to raise money by pitching their ideas to 5 self-made millionaires who provide capital and business expertise in return for a stake in their companies. The show, which originates from a Japanese program called The Money Tigers, has become an enormous success, with many other countries adopting similar formats. One of those countries, which may surprise some people, is Afghanistan. Kevin Thomas reports.
In a country which has been devastated by war and where the average income is less than $500 a year, starting up a company is a risky business. Yet, if Afghanistan, which still heavily depends on foreign aid, is ever going to sustain itself, then it's a risk more investors are going to have to take, according to Damien Evans, a development economist. Small and medium-sized businesses are easily the biggest employers, and if employment there is going to rise as it needs to, then it's these kinds of businesses which will have to be encouraged, developed, and expanded. The problem at the moment is not just instability, but a lack of skills, such as financial planning and marketing strategies among business people. These are still relatively new concepts for many people there. Which is where Fikr wa Talash comes in. Dream and Achieve, as the program is translated in English, is loosely based on business programs such as Dragon's Den. The show aims to provide just that sort of basic business education as struggling entrepreneurs present their businesses and plans for expansion, which then come under scrutiny from local experts. Unlike the British version, though, there are just 2 cash prizes, and the proposed businesses also directly reflect the rather different needs of the Afghan economy. Investors in Britain have backed things such as software that allows you to create a personalised doll with the face of your choice, a men's style magazine aimed at the super-rich, and a website that searches the internet and alerts users to special offers for online gambling. In contrast, the Afghan program included proposals to set up a dairy and a jam-making factory. The winner of the first series was Faisal Haq Moshkani, a father of 9 who had been running a plastic recycling plant in Kandahar until high fuel costs ultimately forced him to close down. The first prize of $20,000 has enabled him to build a mini hydroelectric plant to power a new factory. The benefit for the country is that it'll soon be able to produce its own plastic, rather than having to import it all from abroad. But Dream and Achieve is not simply about education and development, it's also entertainment. It is one of numerous reality TV shows which have found success in the country, including the hugely popular singing contest Afghan Star. TV producer Farzad Amini.
Reality TV is popular all around the world because it's overwhelmingly positive. It gives ordinary people a chance to succeed, and this brings hope to the viewers.
Second place in Dream and Achieve went to a 25-year-old mother of 5. Just 2 decades ago, as a woman, she wouldn't have been able to work, let alone run a business. Another character featured was an ex-warlord who had rejected violence in favour of milk production. Not the kind of background you'd find people having on the British programme, and sure signs of a complex and changing society.
That was Kevin Thomas reporting.
Track 87. 1.
Dragon's Den is soon to enter a new series with prospective entrepreneurs trying to raise money.
2.
Millionaires who provide capital and business expertise in return for a stake in their companies.
3.
Afghanistan still heavily depends on foreign aid.
4.
Small and medium-sized businesses are easily the biggest employers.
5.
The problem at the moment is a lack of skills, such as financial planning.
6.
Plans for expansion come under scrutiny from local experts.
7.
High fuel costs ultimately forced him to close down.
8.
The hugely popular singing contest Afghan Star.
Track 88. 1.
Once you've finished that, come and tell me.
2.
It'll allow us to check stock levels more efficiently.
3. I'll be seeing him later, so I can ask him if you want. 4.
Would you consider branching out into other areas?
5.
After the riots, they're threatening to ban public protests.
6. I used to be good at it, but I can't really do it anymore.
Outcomes Upper Intermediate Tests by Mike Sayer. Published by National Geographic Learning, a part of Cengage Learning. Copyright 2016. Review Test 1.
On today's show, I'm chatting to Dan Clark, who, as many of you will know, used to present Travel Today on TV. He's here to talk about his new series, which starts on Saturday. In the series, he's going to look at how the environment of remote parts of the world has been affected by travel. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hello, it's good to be here.
As we all know, the world is getting smaller. Would you say that this has made travelling easier?
Well, yes, absolutely. I'd say it is much easier than it was back in the 1980s when I started travelling. Being able to use a laptop or mobile phone allows me to book tickets and hotels with few problems. 20 years ago, it was an absolute nightmare when you had to sort out everything by phone or in person. Being able to use the internet really saves time.
In the opinion of many, the more tourists there are, the more pollution there is in places which were once unspoilt. Do you share that view?
Yes, I do. And in my new TV series, I go back to places I used to visit when I was a young travel journalist and find out to what extent they have changed. Back in 1986, when I first visited one of the Caribbean islands that feature in the series, I wouldn't have believed you if you'd told me how much more developed the place was to become. Even back then, it was an up-and-coming tourist destination and quite built up, but remarkably, the number of hotels has doubled since my first visit.
I suppose there is an even greater problem with remote parts of the world that were, until recently, isolated, even deserted places.
Absolutely. There is a modern trend to offer tours to places that were once hard to get to, and a few adventurous tourists are going further and further from home. The problem is that these regions have such delicate ecosystems that tourists, even well-intentioned tourists who care about the environment, can quickly have a dramatic and negative effect. Tourists eat food that has to be imported into the area. They produce waste that can harm the delicate ecosystem. And they use water for drinking and bathing. Often, this results in shortages.
I see. It appears to be a real problem. I look forward to finding out more about it when your TV series begins.
Review Test 2. Hello. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to work as a radio reporter, then today's programme is for you. I'm going to interview Liz Jones, who has been a reporter for Digital One and on the long-running science programme Innovations. Nowadays, she works as a freelance reporter in the north of England. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Hello, it's good to be here.
So, I'm going to start with an obvious question, I suppose. What makes a good reporter, especially on the radio?
Well, I suppose in many ways it comes down to what you sound like, as well as what you say, of course. Technically, radio reporters need to learn how to sound clear, confident and authoritative, cutting out all the pauses and the ums and ahs. Much of my job now, and in the past, has been about interviewing people, ordinary people usually, and getting them to say interesting things on air. As you gain experience, you learn what sort of questions work and how to encourage people to open up, or in some cases, shut up.
Would you say that being a radio reporter is very different to being a TV reporter?
Well, not completely. The long hours and the low pay are certainly comparable, and the stories we cover are often very similar. The main difference is that TV reporting is all about the pictures. You're trying to get great visual images when reporting on a news story, and what you say is often actually trying to explain to the viewer what they are looking at. On radio, of course, you need sound to bring stories to life, so the challenge is to describe things so that people can visualise them.
Some of our listeners would love to be a radio journalist. Do you have any advice for them?
Well, it's a competitive industry. Lots of young people are keen to get into radio journalism because it seems so glamorous. And at the bottom, you aren't going to earn much, if anything. I started out by volunteering to work for the radio station at my university for free. I had to come up with my own news stories and work out how to operate all the technological equipment by myself. It was hard work, but great fun. So that's my advice. Be prepared to offer your services for free, have a go at anything, keep trying new things, and learn on the job.
OK, thanks, Liz. After the break, Liz is going to take some calls, so please ring us now. Review Test 3. On today's show, I'm chatting with internationally famous cookbook author Paola Chiellini. Welcome to the show, Paola.
Thank you for inviting me.
You have just written a new cookbook called Italian Secrets. It's a wonderful book with fabulous recipes, if I may say so. I was wondering why you decided to write this book.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't my decision. I was asked to write it by my students. I have written 3 cookbooks, this is my 3rd, and I never set out to write any of them. I have been teaching cooking for 20 years, and all my recipes have been inspired by the young cooks I have taught.
As you say, you've had a long teaching career, teaching home cooking to 2 generations of cooks. In your opinion, what is the most important skill that the home cook should have?
Oh, taste, I think. Yes, taste. That is very important. You don't need any complicated techniques or anything like that, but you do need to be able to tell whether a dish needs more salt or pepper or whatever. Oh, and good ingredients are essential, of course.
How can people identify the best ingredients?
I don't think that is very difficult. Take salad, for example. If all the leaves are very tired and don't stay up, then you know they aren't very good. Meat is more difficult to choose, but if you can talk with the butcher, I think you will find what is good and what you have to buy for that particular dish. Fish is very easy because if you have a nose, you can smell it. If it doesn't smell good, then don't buy it.
Let's go back to your teaching. What were things like when you began teaching cooking? Did your students know a lot about the subject?
It was very challenging. I found out that people simply didn't know very much about food. They didn't know the names of any vegetables other than the most obvious ones. And they didn't know how to cut meat, or indeed, what parts of the animal different cuts of meat came from.
And has a lot changed since you started teaching cooking?
It is much, much better now than it was when I started. The knowledge of ingredients, the understanding of different ways of cooking food. To be honest, sometimes I think people undercook food these days. They don't leave vegetables in water long enough. But in general, it is much better.
OK, let's take a commercial break. After the break, I'll be asking Paula about the early part of her career. So join us again to hear what she says. Mid-year test.
Have you ever wondered why some dogs can learn how to catch drug smugglers at an airport or rescue mountain climbers, while others can't even be taught to sit still or stop barking, no matter how much time you spend teaching them to perform such basic skills? Well, today I'm talking to dog training expert Clive Barker, and I'm hoping to find out exactly how bright our canine friends are and how we can test their intelligence. Welcome to the show, Clive.
Hello, thanks for inviting me.
So, are some dogs brighter than others?
Well, yes, I suppose they are. But you have to remember, with dogs, as with humans, there are different kinds of intelligence and different ways of testing that intelligence. It's easy to train a sheepdog to herd sheep, for example, because they have a natural ability to do that. But if you try teaching a small toy dog to do the same thing, well, good luck is all I can say. There's no point in expecting it to be able to manage such a task.
Okay, but are there ways of testing the IQ of our own dogs?
Yes, of course. Numerous problem-solving tests have been devised by animal psychologists that will give you a good idea as to whether your family pet is clever or not.
Okay, great. So, are these tests difficult to set up?
No, not at all. One of them involves using an everyday household object, a towel. Gently place a large towel over your dog's head and stand well back. No dog enjoys having its head covered, so it'll try to escape. If your dog gets out from under the towel in fewer than 15 seconds, then give it a treat. That means it's pretty bright. If it's still stuck under the towel after 30 seconds, well, that isn't a good sign. But give it a treat anyway, it's tried its best.
I can see my dog failing to find its way out.
Well, don't worry if that happens. Remember that there are lots of factors that may affect your dog's ability to do these tests. Some breeds, for example, are good at finding things because they have a great sense of smell, not because they're bright. And practice makes perfect. Encourage your dog to keep working at these tests. You can really develop their learning ability. Dogs, just like humans, can get better at solving problems.
Okay, I'll remember that. Right, time for a commercial break. When we come back, we'll be discussing more.
End of year test 1.
Dr. Andy Garcia is no ordinary vet. He works in one of the largest zoos in North America, and lions, giraffes and golden eagles are just a few of the many species that he is responsible for. I'm pleased to say that Andy is here in the studio today to talk about his career. Welcome to the show, Andy.
It's good to be here.
So what's a typical day for you like? I guess it's not your average 9 to 5 job.
Well, you could say that. To be honest, I tend to get to the zoo at the same time each morning. And pretty early too, at 7 on the dot, in fact. But then, my day can take me anywhere. Yesterday morning, for example, I started out operating on a camel which had torn some ligaments. Then I had to go check on a lion with a sprained ankle which should have got better but hadn't. Then it was off to see about some of the birds. We have a vulture with a sore throat, which is no fun if you have the throat of a vulture, I can tell you. Basically, I'm on the go all day, and how long my day lasts depends on how healthy the animals are. It's not unusual for me to head home at midnight, but then again, some days I get to go home in the middle of the afternoon.
What's the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part? I suppose performing an operation on huge animals like elephants and rhinos is pretty demanding, but I guess what I find most challenging is working with species that are really unique. There are animals in the zoo which are both rare and weird. Sometimes we don't even know what they should be eating or whether their behavior is normal or not. It means that when they get ill or show signs of stress, it becomes a really difficult job to find out exactly what's wrong.
I guess it must be next to impossible to diagnose an animal if you have no idea how they are supposed to look when they are fit and well.
Exactly. We have to do tests, take samples, compare data with lots of other zoos, and in the end, trust our own judgment and experience and learn from how the animal responds. It's incredibly rewarding when we get it right.
It must be.
One thing I love about this job is that we all learn on a daily basis something new about the biology, the anatomy, and the physiology of animals that haven't been studied much.
Fascinating. One last question. If they wanted to become a zoo vet, how would our listeners go about getting qualified? Are there degrees in your line of work?
Well, different people take different career paths to get where I am today. It actually takes a lot of work and it takes some time. When you finish your veterinary degree, you're qualified to treat pets and farm animals, but you're not trained to work with wild or zoo animals. So after you're done with veterinary school, you have to do a specialized training. It's called residency. I worked at a zoo for 5 years, learning on the job and getting a master's in wild animal health. It's really tough and very competitive. Lots of young people want to work in this area.
I guess. Anyway, thanks for coming in, Andy. After the break, we'll be talking to one.
End of year test 2. Welcome to Jobs on the Line. Today's guest, Amy Bell, has followed a career path which I suspect is not that unusual in the industry she works in. Her first career in insurance left her feeling largely unfulfilled, so she decided to retrain as a driving instructor. Welcome to the programme, Amy. So, what made you switch to being a driving instructor?
Hello. Okay, well, actually, I can't say it's something I've always wanted to do. When I left school, I just went into the first steady office job I found. But after taking my advanced driving test 10 years ago, I became more and more interested in driving as a career. I realised that I found the job I had repetitive and dull, so at the age of 38, I took a chance and did ADI training.
ADI? That stands for Approved Driving Instructor.
That's right. You have to complete the training to become a driving instructor. There's a theory test, a practical driving test that tests your driving skills, and then a further test on instructional ability. They are incredibly demanding tests. I found the practical driving particularly difficult. You can only take it 3 times, and if you fail, you have to wait 2 years before you can take it again, so it was such a relief to pass it at my first attempt.
So once you're qualified, how'd you go about doing the job? How'd you get clients?
Well, that depends on you to some extent. Lots of people join one of the big driving schools, which means that you get regular work and steady pay, but I wanted to set up my own business. Amy's Driving School, I've called it. Not very imaginative, I know, but it's exciting to see your name on the top of a car and on lots of business cards. I advertised on the local radio, but mostly I got work through word of mouth. You know, friends of my daughter at school, then after they found out I was good, their friends and relatives came along and soon I became quite well known.
So what do you tend to do on a typical day?
I avoid booking any lessons before 10 in the morning if I can help it. I'm not a morning person, you see. And that's one of the great things about being my own boss. I can choose my hours, and I'd rather work later in the evening than first thing in the morning. I always drive over to pick up my learners. So I'll meet the learner, go over what we did in the last lesson, and set off. It's like a new adventure every time a different learner gets in the car. If I have time in between lessons, I'll grab lunch, whatever time that may be. Once each lesson comes to an end, I have a chat with the learner, and we agree on how things went and plan the next lesson.
And what do you enjoy about your job?
What I like most is the sense of achievement that I get and my learners get when they pass. Watching people gain confidence in such a difficult skill that could really make a huge difference to their lives is really rewarding. Nothing beats that feeling.
OK, thanks for sharing your experiences with us, Amy. After the break...